And welcome. This is Frank on Camnet. First things first, let me thank my eye specialist who is trying to sort out my eyes. I had to come for this interview because my doctor is trying to do a good job. And of course, I would like to thank my God. There's nothing that you can do without God. Like I keep on saying, do your very best and God will do the rest. And this is exactly what I'm doing. The big story, there's nothing bigger than the 2021 elections, presidential elections, parliamentary elections, and local government elections. Local government elections, that is our focus on Frank on Camnet this evening. Wherever you are in the world, in Zambia, listen, watch the next 2 hours or so as I feature two giants of contenders. One from UPND, Victor NYASULA, will take up the other half. And to start with is CHILANDO, who is standing on the ticket of PF. And she's my first guest. Good evening and welcome.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good to see you. I hope you're keeping safe.
I am.
These are difficult, times. How are you coping with COVID?
It's not easy.
Yeah.
It's not easy, especially that we've been losing a lot of our families and friends. But, from the time that COVID started, about a year and a half ago, there's been a lot of sensitization. So all we have to do is follow the COVID guidelines that were given to us by the Ministry of Health. Yeah, so even the campaigning hasn't been easy.
Yeah.
Because this time we're just doing the door-to-door. And we've been told no rallies. And obviously when it's uplifted, when the ban has been uplifted, I'm sure we'll have no road shows as well. But door-to-door is much safer because you can both wear masks when you are talking.
Right.
Yeah.
Yesterday I was watching the press conference of the UPND leader, Hakainde Hichilema. He says your government is not doing a good job in terms of managing COVID. Your position, where you stand?
Well, coming from the background where I am a civic leader, and I did a lot of sensitization on the ground with the people. I think it's not fair to just say our government. It's just the people. Everybody in the city should be responsible. Yeah, we have to all be responsible. We know exactly what we're supposed to do. Yeah, for example, I'm one of those that went around in markets and trying to teach them to be safe.
Yeah.
But they're walking into a market with a mask. Yeah. But they remove it. So whose fault is it? It's your responsibility because the government and its leadership have done the best that they can to let us know that this is what we have to follow to safeguard our lives.
In short, we should not politicize the situation.
No, we don't have to really. I think the fault lies with me and you, really. Because if leadership are really protecting themselves and they've told us exactly what to do, why shouldn't I follow? You know what I mean? I need to follow. So even if I am going for that meeting, let me mask up and practice what I've been told.
Absolutely.
But people just want to politicize this, and yet the guidelines have been laid to us in black and white. Everybody, including the little kids, they know they have to greet you with an elbow.
Right.
Yeah. So I think the Ministry of Health and the leadership of the country have done the very best, and I'm part of the people, the team that went on the ground to do the sensitization.
Right. We'll be talking about the elections, this year, presidential, parliamentary, and local government. Before we do that, for the sake of our viewers who are watching perhaps for the first time, obviously watching you for the first time, who is CHILANDO?
CHILANDO CHATANGALA is a Zambian born right here in Lusaka at UTH, born from Musa Kundla Chitangala and Agnes Walia Nakazo Chitangala, both late. My parents are both late. I'm a mother, I'm a sister, I'm an aunt, and I'm a granddaughter because I have a grand aunt still alive and I live with her. And I am a businesswoman, so people in this city will know me as a business person, but I'm a civic leader as well. And of course, a politician, turned politician. Yeah.
What are your attributes? when you were growing up, what did you pick up from your parents that is stood you in good state the way you are, today? Your strengths, your attributes.
First of all, my father was a civil servant. He was actually Labour Commissioner at the Ministry of Labour in the 80s. And yeah, in the 80s, 70s and 80s. So he retired as a Labour Commissioner. And people that will remember my father, they'll know that he was a very dignified man and very focused and disciplined. And I think I get that from my dad. And my mother was a businesswoman, a very hard-working businesswoman, and that I know. But from the looks that I got from my mom, I'm hard-working like her. She taught us that it's important, especially for me as a girl child, she always told me that it's important that I stand on my own. And what she also said to me was, because she came from a background where she was not educated, I mean, she went to school at, up to, I think, sub B or something like that, and my father was a teacher, actually. So she always told me that what she discovered was that a woman must be independent and financially strong. So it doesn't matter whether you have a stand at the market, where she started from in Kamala Market, or you have a boutique like I do have shops, or you're working in an office, but you need to be financially independent so that you can stand up and be the woman that you want to be. And that's what I got from
What has been your career development? You've talked about you being a business person. What has been your development like?
First of all, at least I started my business because of my mom, and she supported me. So I wouldn't say that I really struggled that much, because I had a strong backbone where my family was financially okay. But the lessons that I learned, because when they supported me, they didn't support me every day. They let me stand on by myself. So I think being focused and hardworking got me to where I am today.
From business into politics?
Yes, from business.
How did that develop?
In 2001, when the late Michael Sata started Patriotic Front, I'm very proud to say that I was one of the first 100 voters for Patriotic Front in 2001.
Right.
And I thought, because my dad was a politician, I followed Michael Sata as well. But in 2001, I was just like, this is the man. So I started supporting PF then. But in 2008, I became active in the background, but quite active. By 2011, I was like in it. So from 2011, I started running around. I was part of the fundraising group of the Patriotic Fund. Then by 2012, I became the chair lady of my Devil constituency until about a few months ago. And then now I am the vice chair lady of Lusaka province, which is quite a good position in the party, because it covers the whole Lusaka province. So I'm a vice chair lady. So I started by working with the people in the communities. I would always talk to them about these groupings, the cooperatives and so on. Then I just realized that it's so easy to work with the people at the grassroots level, because there isn't much that they need. They just need a bit of help and guidance. And so that got me interested. And then in 2014, when our president passed, so that was about 2015 when President Lungu came up, he was also talking about supporting women in politics and decision making. So by I think the end of 2015 or something like that, he actually announced that he wanted about 40% women to join politics and also decision making. So that gave me a chance to stand, because our leadership was supporting and the party was very inclusive. So in 2016, I decided to stand as a councillor. And believe me, Uncle Frank, I think that was a good lesson for me, because the late President Sata always told me, you need to start from the bottom. And he always encouraged me to become a councillor. And he said to me, I remember his words, when you start at the bottom, the people make you their leader and nobody will bring you down. And I think that was a good lesson. You
were obviously influenced by Michael Sata. But the question is, why PF? Why did you choose PF instead of other political parties? What is it in PF that attracted you?
All right. You've just said Michael Sata. Most of the things that he talked about, so many things that he talked about then, even before he formed Patriotic Front, they would touch our lives then. Yes, I remember once he came to the airport, and I think he had just started PF, and we just landed, and he said to us, a group of women, and said, so you've landed and you're shivering because you've brought your bags, and you're just so confused because you don't even know how much you're going to pay. Why is it that when you land, you start, you even get scared when you land at the airport? And that is exactly what used to happen to us. And we all thought, oh, this man knows exactly what we go through. So there are so many things that he said that were really, attached to the lives that we led at that time. Yeah. And apart from that, when I read the first manifesto that PF produced, I just bought into it. Yeah. I just bought into it, and I thought, this is what I want for this country. This is what I think I should be part of. And it was so easy for me to identify myself and join Patriotic Front. Just as today, when you read our manifesto today, I'm buying in it. I just love it. I think this is where this country must go.
Right.
Yeah. And especially when we're talking about the economic recovery, I think this is what the Zambians should know about now. Yeah. What Patriotic Front has done in the last 10 years, Uncle Frank, we need to be honest. Not any other party has done it. It hasn't been an easy road. We must accept that. I'll accept it hasn't been an easy road. But then let's look at the bigger picture. Yeah, what are our benefits? And the benefits will be seen very soon. Even now, the benefits have been seen.
Your manifesto is pro-poor, but there are those who are saying, when you look at the economic situation right now, it just doesn't tally, with your, pro-poor, policies.
Yes, people may say that, but remember, Uncle Frank, that the last few years, what has been happening is that we needed to open up the country. Yes, and Zambia as a country, we haven't, it's not like we've been doing so well, even coming from the previous party to the Patriotic Front. We've been struggling. Even starting from Chuluga's time, Manawasa's time, Rupia's time, our time, Zambia hasn't, apart from the 3 years that after the EPIC program of Manawasa, yeah. But this time, like for example, what Patriotic Front stood for is to open up the country. Instead of we thinking Zambia is a landlocked, President Safari, President said it's a land-linked. And that is what was in our manifesto in the beginning. So we needed to link Zambia. And today, Zambia is linked everywhere. So this is a government that has sacrificed so much to open up the country. And then after opening up the country, now it's time for economic recovery. And this is what, even I, as a Patriotic Front person, I want that. Yes. It's not like I haven't felt it. I have felt it. Yeah. But to get the good thing out of it, we all have to sacrifice.
Right.
And this is what we've done.
We'll be talking about, Lusaka. I thought we'll talk about, a bit about national issues. But we'll be talking about Lusaka, very shortly. But being a leader, being a woman, councillor, what does that mean? What have been the pluses and the minuses of being a woman councillor, a woman leader in politics, which is dominated by men?
First of all, when I was given a chance to be adopted as a councillor and I went to the council, I should say that I've always wanted to be in the council chambers, actually. I've planned this actually for more than 15 years. So this is like a dream come true because I love my city. I want to really show the people exactly what this passion is all about. Yeah. Zambia is one of those countries that, yes, even if it's been inclusive, we haven't reached the numbers for women in politics and decision making. So even just to get my space, my place at that table, wasn't very easy, but I managed to get it because I was focused and disciplined. And this is what I want other women to understand and not to fear to come and join that table. Yeah. So because I'm in a party that is very inclusive, I've had a chance to actually work and be accepted. Yes. I might not be the perfect person. I decided not to be the critic out there, but the critic within. Yeah. So being a female councillor, first of all, women have a passion for the people, so it's a bit different. Yeah, I'm there with the people at the grassroots level. So we speak, I mean, I've got this attachment with not only the women, but the children and the youth as well. So we talk about what we're supposed to sort out, where our problems are, where is the bridge? Where is the bridge supposed to be? Because the women are the ones that are really in the communities while their husbands go to work. So know exactly where the bridge is supposed to be, where the tap is supposed to be, where the borehole is supposed to be. So with the support that I've received, it hasn't been difficult, actually. It hasn't been difficult, and I think I should thank the people of Roma Ward 17 and also Lusaka, because I was deputy mayor. So it meant that I worked with the whole district. Yeah, the way they accepted me, the way they understood. And obviously, once women are a bit, you know, like we have to do this, we have to do this, we have to sweep. So they've accepted. They've accepted because you have that motherly figure, yeah, out there. So it hasn't been difficult.
What things would you point out, you know, as a councillor, you know, that stands out in Roma?
Okay, apart from Roma, I'll talk about deputy mayor as well. I think you remember the time that I was deputy mayor, we had an outbreak of cholera. So that is the time that most people will remember me for, because they keep talking about it. I worked so hard because I understood what that problem would mean to the city, and we need to do a lot of cleanup. So it wasn't easy to remove people from town, but you needed to explain to them how important it was. At the end of it, we saved a lot of lives. So being in Roma, Ward 17 as a councillor, we didn't have a mother's shelter at the clinic. Today, Ngombe Clinic has got a mother's shelter, and I'm very proud that we used the ward fund to build that mother's shelter. And then now, also the ward fund for 2021 is going to build an extension of the Ngombe market, which will house about 350 people, marketeers, from the 98 close to 100 people, so another extra 250. So I think that is good, because 73% of our people are unemployed or self-employed. And then apart from that, I have a skills center, which is being built now in the community, realizing that the youth have been, you know, haven't had much to do, and we don't want them to move from, because we have one in Mandebo, but it's in Chaisa. So the walking from Ngombe to Chaisa is quite a bit. So now they have their own in Ngombe, their own school center being built. And I'm proud to say now we have a secondary school in Ngombe, and I've been part of that journey. The first secondary school, that is Ngombe Primary School, and then there's Ngombe Secondary School. This is a project that has been funded by the World Bank, supported by the Zambian government. So 25% was supposed to be community donation, and the community did that, and I'm part of the people that contributed by buying building sand and so on. So I'm proud that I was a councillor, and these are the biggest development that is there. And we've had a bridge that we asked RDA to build for us, a very big and dangerous Spring de la One bridge, which is being built here now. And the bridge at the bridge at Majokama, that is bordering Kabanana and Foxdale. Yeah, so there are so many things that I can actually talk about and actually say, because I was a councillor in these 5 years, this is what I've done for my community.
We'll be talking about what we'll be doing, you know, as a mayor, you know, assuming you're elected. Let's just cast our eyes on these elections, you know, in totality. You know, how significant are these elections, you know, at presidential, you know, level, parliamentary, you know, local government, just in totality, the whole big picture. How significant are these elections? Are these elections a make or break for PF?
Uncle Frank, when there's a general election, it's very important that as Zambian people, not only Zambia as the world, but when there's a general election, it's important that the citizens of that nation vote. I always tell people that if you don't vote and you're eligible to vote, you're 18 and above, and you don't register to vote, then you don't voice out. So there's no need for you to complain. But if you know that you want to take part, even if you don't come and stand and speak, your vote is your voice. So it's very important that the Zambian people go and vote. So this is not a make and break for PF. Because I think with what PF has done the last 10 years and what PF is planning to do from now until the next 5 years, 2026, I think people must be fair and agree that they need to give PF a chance. Yeah.
You don't think some of your failures, economically, socially, puts you in a very difficult situation as PF to sell yourselves to the electorate?
Well, we've heard complaints that the people have brought up, and I think there are problems that we can't say they cannot be sorted out. In every country, when you are concentrating on one issue, like the way we concentrate on developmental issues, infrastructure and so on, obviously there's a bit of the other side that will suffer. And people should be able to understand, because this is not the first government that has gone through this. Yeah, the only thing is it's the first government that has done so much infrastructure development cross-line in the whole country. So I think, yes, a portion of some Zambians may condemn it, but a portion of the Zambians accept and understand that this was very important.
Right. Let's now narrow to Lusaka. Again, I ask a similar question. How significant is this mayoral contest in Lusaka? What is at stake, here, CHILANDO?
Well, Lusaka being the capital city, I don't think we need trial and error right now. Yeah, being a capital city, because whatever happens in the capital city, that's what spreads in the whole country. So it's very important that the capital city votes for a person that has got experience, and they've already seen exactly what the person has done on the ground. Yeah, because being a capital city, well, I'll say because I'm already in the council. I house the president. I house the ministries. You house all the embassies. So it's important that the picture of Lusaka city reflects the whole country. Yeah. So it's a very important election.
Yeah. What are the major issues at stake here in Lusaka? Economic issues, social issues. What are the issues that are confronting, the people of Lusaka that are going to confront, your administration, assuming you become mayor?
First of all, obviously we have a few challenges. You've heard people talk about, well, I'll talk about solid waste. Obviously, a capital city needs to be clean and the outlook needs to be good. Then, of course, we've had issues where we've got a lot of complaint of drainage issues. Yes, but we should actually thank God that we had the Millennium Challenge project that was worth about $355 million, supported by the American people and the American government. That has helped lessen the floods in the city and given about 1.2 million people water, tap water. That includes Kwamwene and Bona Valley. They have tap water because of that project. And apart from that, this drainage runs from Bombay, that's in Kamala South, to Maziopa drainage, exactly where I live. So it's really helped the city. And Uncle Frank, if we had another drainage that would run across the city, like this very one, I think the issue of floods will be the past story. Yes, so we have this issue. But also building of the new roads, the new bridges, has made sure, they've made sure that they've extended the drainages and built new drainages, so that will help the city. Lusaka sits on a rock, yeah, so it's very difficult for the water to seeps very slowly. That is the problem that we've had in Kanyama. Yeah. So apart from that, of course, economically, we have 73% of about 70% of our people who are unemployed, and this is something that, as a local authority, we are small. We're just an extra arm of the central government, but that's the reason why we have what we call the grade fours that the council can employ. Yeah, but the council. If the council is going to employ these people and help economically in the city, we need to be a self-financing council. So that we can manage these issues. We can employ people to sweep, or maybe even go into an agreement with RIDA that we can give, second, or give some workers to them and they pay the council. So all those things, yeah. So economically, as a local authority, I think you need to think like that to help the city. Yeah.
Before you talk about new projects, new programs, the whole management of Lusaka, the whole management of Zambia depends on financial resources. Let me highlight we go, buy item to item, how you're going to deal, with these. Can we start with markets, bus stops, which have had a lot of problems where the council can get, resources, but your cadres dominate, getting these resources. Can we start with markets, bus stops? How are you going to change this and ensure that the council will be getting the revenue which is entitled to the council?
Okay, thank you, Uncle Frank. Okay, yes, I'll talk about that. Yeah. But firstly, apart from just the bus stops and markets, we also have another way of getting so much money that the council can benefit, and these are land rates and ground rates.
Yeah.
This is something that
coming to that. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's deal with items. Let's start with markets.
And bus stops. All right. Okay. The markets and bus stops. We have about I think 33 council markets in the city, and intercity, city market are one of the biggest, Soweto and so on. Yeah. We have the way we run the markets as a council. But believe me, Uncle Frank, I'll tell you about the intercity.
Yeah.
The buses at intercity go and they use cashless to pay the council. They go and deposit money in the bank, and then there's nothing like the buses coming to pay at the council office and so on. The council office at intercity handles just a little bit of money there. But yes, there is a system that is there with our stakeholders. I won't call them cadres, I'll call them stakeholders.
Yeah.
They also run their separate business where they have these boys who run around and get bags from people and load the buses. So Uncle Frank, that is what we should actually talk about. Really interfering with the council finances at intercity. It doesn't happen, I'll be honest. But then they have their own system that runs also parallel with the council. The way you have these boys that carry your bags and then they load for you. But when they load those big buses, you need to pay them. When they carry your bags, then you need to pay them. So that's what irritates the people of Lusaka, I should say. So let's say that is maybe what we're supposed to sort out.
Yeah.
But where you say they collect monies, street vending, but that is something that we can sort out with the stakeholders. So my plan as a new mayor of the city is to have them form cooperatives that will work with the council. So we'll have those cooperatives, we'll work with the council and we'll work together. Counting of the street vendors in town, allocation of street vendors in designated areas where they have facilities, and the council will pay them. So we have to pay them for the services that they provide so that they don't touch council money. That is where we are going. This is something that we've already discussed in the council itself, and then we've discussed with the people themselves, and they are okay with it. So I think the only thing that we needed to be is to be organized and to make sure that the rules are followed. Yeah. So the bus stops and markets issue where you have a system that is not transparent and that is confusing will come to an end. Because these last 5 years, that is what we've been trying to sort out. Yeah. And I think a solution has been found, because believe me, it's not easy to just send people home. They also come there, they need to feed their families, they need to take their kids to school. So let's look at the bigger picture. There's so much unemployment in the city, so that is part of the employment. So I will not call them cadres, I'll call them stakeholders. But we need to organize them in a way that it doesn't interrupt with the funding of the city council.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's move to markets.
That's the same situation as well. The market, the system is also the same. Yes, the system is the same, but like I said, it's cooperatives. They need to come and apply, and so that it's transparent at the council. They need to work with us, and we have to pay them as a council, as a local authority, so they don't touch the local authorities' funds. Yeah. Security
is very important to policing, these projects. Where's the city police council, in all this? And I mean, you have traveled a lot. You go to New York, for example. The local police really runs, the city. What is up? How can you change, the performance of the city council security, people?
Yes. Okay, yes, we do have our council police, and about two years ago we employed about 200 of them, and they were trained at Lelai by the state police, by the Zambia police. Yes, and we're frank, they're not even enough. We don't have enough council police. I'll be happy if we even employed more, but then it all goes back to finances. Do we have the money that we need to pay these people? Sorry, excuse me, to employ more. But yes, they are the ones that are supposed to help us in the bus stops, in the markets, and just the security of the city. Yes, but like I said, there are not so many. We still have to employ more, and I hope that when we become a self-financing council, we can employ a bit more and just empower the people of Lusaka. So yeah.
Parking. Again, you know, I mean, good idea, you know, but you need to designate, you know, some parking, you know, areas. Having said that, the money which is being charged, you know, is even, you know, less than the books, the receipt books that you buy. I mean, how do you hope to address, you know, parking?
I'm even happy.
There's a lot of money to be picked.
I'm even happy that you said the money that we charge is very little.
To be honest,
thank you very much, Uncle Frank. And I hope that is what the other people of the city will think, that it's very little, 5 kwacha. It's just less than $1. And you know, Uncle Frank, we've traveled. Parking in CBD in these other countries is expensive. They ask you to leave your car outside CBD area, and then you jump on a bus or a train. So parking in, we had a company that was called Parkrite a few years ago. That was, I think we gave them a contract in 2017, and they tried to run the parking for a year, but they didn't remit as much as they were supposed to remit, so we terminated our contract. So for now, we are working, the last council, the last council that I was part of, we're working on having a cashless parking system that is connected in CBD and straight to the finance department at the city council. So this is the plan that we left in the council the last few months. And I'm hoping that when I go back, that will be one of the projects that will be actualized, you know, for the city. So we need a proper parking system, not only in CBD, but in Kamwala area and North Mid, because I consider those to be part of CBD. Yeah, you have a lot of business there and a lot of parking there, and including bus stops as well. Bus stops and markets, we can still make a lot of money there. So we are working on a system, actually, that will be a cashless system and connected directly to the council, where Mr. Frank Mutuwila number so is on Cairo Road, and you have your machine. As soon as the person pays it sends the signal to the council and tells us, Mr. Frank Mutuwila now has made 750 kwacha. You know, so if you bring 500, we'll know that there's something wrong that happened. So it will be a monitored system. So it's something that has been discussed in the council. So we are going to go cashless and manage the parking in town.
Illegal allocation of land. I mean, this is a very serious issue, which there's no doubt in some cases has been politicized. And how are you going to depoliticize this? How are you going to manage illegal land allocation?
Uncle Frank, illegal land allocation started way back. I think if you remember very well, especially in the times of MMD, this is the time that they allocated Obama. And you've seen how Obama is. And CHILANDO also came up in the MMD time, and that's about 25, 30 years ago. And then we have also Garden Park on Mumba Road. So, of course, illegal allocation of land is not good for the city because it deprives the people that buy those lands of good service. Yes, when you allocate them, the way the land has been allocated the last few years, it means that even service provision becomes difficult, building of drainages. Even ZESCO itself, just to take a power line, it's very difficult. They have to find a place. They have to find a place where the power line, the service lines will go through. So it's not a good thing. But it has happened. So how do we manage and correct that? This is the reason why we have the land titling project now. That is by Ministry of Lands. We are agents as a local authority. You are just agents of Ministry of Lands. So we are just an extra arm of the central government. And then we have a company called Medici Land Titling that is working with the Ministry of Lands and the local authority by giving a title deeds. So this is part of trying to manage and also correct the mistakes that were made. Yeah, making sure that the illegal land that was allocated is now legal, and also if you've built on a wrong like a road reserve. We've had a lot of demolitions the past few years. I think you've seen that. So this is something that needs to be corrected, but didn't just start now in this government. It's something that we've inherited from before. Yeah.
Related to that, unplanned, structures.
The unplanned structures, but most of them. We've had, in the last council, we've been demolishing a lot of them. You've seen where we were even working with Lusaka province minister, where we went and demolished a few places and so on. But remember, we also have an issue where, because Ministry of Lands is allocating, local government as well is there as a mother ministry, and then there's also the local authority. For example, when we go along Kafue Road, it's not only the local authority that allocates. We have the Ministry of Local Government and Ministry of Lands. So sometimes we find double allocation. So those are the things that needs to be sorted out. Yeah.
To round all these issues, second from last, water is life. I mean, for a country with two-thirds of the water in this region. I mean, Lusaka is related to all that. Water is a problem in this country. I know you're just one of the players, as a council in the water, management, water provision, and management. How are you going to address, the water situation? Because this is very key. Water and sanitation.
All right. Like I mentioned earlier on, just the building of Millennium Drainage has helped as well. Remember, I also said the Millennium Challenge connected about 1.2 million people to tap water. So that was one of the projects that was beneficial to the city. Yeah, and I mentioned that Kwamwene, Bona Valley, also they are the ones who were benefited also on the water project, part of the water project that Millennium Challenge came with. And also, in my ward, they built a lot of kiosks. Yeah, so in situations where we have the peri-urban side, where we can't dig or bring proper service lines, we have kiosks that have been built, supported by the Millennium Challenge and Lusaka Water and Sanitation, which is the former Lusaka Water. Yeah, so we have underwater trust. So we have kiosks dotted around peri-urban areas, and then we have a project, the Kafue Bulk Water Project, that is being built by China Civil, and I think it's supported, funded by Exim Bank. That the government up 150 million worth of this. Yes, that is done, and it means that water pipes have already come to the city, and most of the townships in the city will have water. That includes the most talked about Kanyama, Mutendere. They'll have water, but you know that what has just delayed this project is the power line, the power station that is being built. So I think in the next few months, when that is done, the water blues in the city will actually come to an end. That includes Charleston, because I know that Charleston has been having a lot of problems. So the water problem will come to an end when that Kapo water bulk project is done.
Every year, waterborne diseases in this city. Do you have plans of addressing this? Assuming you become mayor.
Yes, Uncle Frank. First of all, the waterborne disease, cholera. We haven't had cholera the last 2 years, so that is a plus for Mayor Mouse and his team, and I'm one of his team. I must say that when cholera started the other 3 years ago, Maziopa was the first, which was in my ward, to have those first 20 cases. There was a vaccine that came, we buried the shallow wells, but also cleanliness of the city is very important. This is the reason why street vending must be designated in the areas that they're supposed to trade from. So that it's up to them. They need to actually keep the city clean. If they don't keep the city clean, then they have a problem with the local authority. Yes. This is the reason why we want them to trade from designated areas where we have facilities nearby, or we bring them facilities. For me as the new mayor, this is the reason why I'm saying they cannot trade on the road, but they'll trade in the back alleys. because you can't send them home. They also need to eat, you know? They need to eat, but we can organize street vending. Uncle Frank, everywhere in the world, there's street vending, but it's organized street vending. We can utilize the back alleys where we can connect facilities straight down. There's already an existing sewer line in town. We can straight there in a container toilet. We can have 500 of them in this back alley and another 500 back alley. We can utilize maybe 6 back alleys so that we can, you and I can have parking in town. You and I can actually go and trade, and then we don't have to mix them. The clothing people must be separated. The food people must be separated. In case we have what you're talking about now, we have an outbreak. We spray the clothing, then the food can rest. Yeah, so all those are things that I have on my table. I'm an experienced civic leader. I've acted before as mayor of the city of Lusaka for 90 days, so it wasn't easy. I've been deputy mayor for 3 years. So what I'm talking about is reality. I'm not going to build castles in the air. This is what I'm trying to tell the people of Lusaka, reality.
Street vending, so many, civic leaders, politicians have tried to remove them. It's failed. What makes you think you're going to succeed where others have failed?
I've understood street vending very much. I've worked with them. I think the first 2 years, you saw how I managed the street vending in the city. So today, I will tell you that Simon Moore Market is being built. It's almost at 92%. City Market is being renovated by Zambia National Service. So it's not about them staying in the streets. They also understand. So we are going to have a portion of the street vendors going into Simon Moore Market. We're going to have a portion of them going back into City Market very soon, actually. They know that. And then the few that don't have stands, those are the ones now that we have to manage. So they believe they have to be in CBD. So let's not trade on the road. So let's trade in the back alleys. You want to be in CBD. So you will have to follow so that we have a win-win situation. Be in these designated areas. Trade from here. We'll bring you the facilities. Keep yourself clean so that we have a win-win situation. You want to be in town? I'm not chasing you from town. But I will tell you that this is where you're going to trade from. And you trade from there.
Facilities, a city that does not have enough toilets, really?
This is why I'm telling you that we need to have...
Is it so expensive to build a toilet in the city, really?
No, Uncle Frank, but we have container toilets that we've been going on. I think you've seen, like, at a market called Minyauli, we've had a container toilet. We have, I think, 2 container toilets connected to existing sewer lines. So we're not actually making new sewer lines. Existing, you connect to the existing sewer lines. So that will happen as well. The container toilets will just maybe 2 for men, 2 for women.
What about public, toilets? People have to go to hotels to beg, to help themselves. People have to go in the near bush. Really?
No, Uncle.
Big city like this?
Uncle Frank. This is what I would like to tell the people of Lusaka. We approved a year ago in the council chambers a project for building toilets, 100 toilets in CBD, supported by Lusaka Water. That is a good business for the people, and we've been talking about it. So this is something that you're going to see. Renovations of toilets and building of toilets. There is a project, a good project to empower even the people of Lusaka. So when I get into office, after 12th August, I would like people that have projects for toilet building to come to my office. We have that project. Uncle Frank, in the next 1 year, Lusaka will not be the same. It will be a different city under my watch.
Before I talk about how you're going to increase the financial, base, let's talk about billboards. And it's election time now. There's been so much corruption, for lack of a better way of saying it. Are you making money from these billboards, or you're taking advantage as PF and just give free positions to the party? Having said that, just generally, there's so much money in billboards. How are you addressing that?
Yes, Uncle Frank, there's so much money in billboards. Yeah. And the billboards people would actually agree that 2 years ago we started the billboard policy, and this is the billboard policy that will take place. It's there in the council, and it will be enforced. after 12th August. We can make a lot of money. That is a good source of revenue for the council. But also, the billboards in the city are too much. You can't have billboards all over the place, so it needs to be controlled. So a few years ago, I think about 2 years ago, we did go around and cut down some of them. But obviously, yes, people have taken advantage of that situation, but I think that is not fair for the city, because you can't have a city with so many billboards here and there. So that will be managed. Yeah, I think the billboard policy will help us. And Lusaka City Council should have a separate unit to manage billboards.
Right.
And that is where this mayor is going to.
Any new projects that you feel you can implement to increase your financial base as a council?
Number one, the number one project that being in the council last 5 years that I've noticed that is a good money spinner for the council is rates. And so rates and ground rates, because the ground rates are the peri-urban side, the rates are for the urban side. Uncle Frank, this I've always said, we have more than 400,000 houses in the city, and only 20% of those households pay rates. So how does the council manage to run on only 20%? I think that's very unfair. And it's very unfair because you, the people of Lusaka, are not paying your rates. So how do we make you pay your rates? 18 months ago, we started updating the valuation row, captured some households. But the capturing of households, that is what takes long. Because the policy, the law, because I want people to know that as a local authority, you are not working in isolation. You are governed by the Local Government Act. You have a parent ministry, Minister of Local Government, that you report to. So the policies that we want to change have to go to central government, to our mother ministry, which is Minister of Local Government, for them to approve. So there is a process. So there's been a process of trying to update the valuation row, which of course we had to write to central government. And then also, your law says, our law says that I have to come to your house as a valuer, do the valuation and ask you questions, and then I give you your rental, your rates fee. But I think that will take a long time. So we will write to the local government, because this is what we've been trying to explain to them. We need to capture almost all the houses in the city. If we have to use new technology, best. All we have to say is Chalala can pay 1,000 a year for all those households. I would rather we collect what we can collect and not collect what we are not collecting. So the people of Lusaka must give us that revenue that belongs to the council for us to provide good services. So revenue collection of the land rates is a very good money spinner for the council.
Right.
Yeah. And apart from that, we have to work with service providers of these booths. Yeah. The Airtel booths. Uncle Frank, it's an eyesore. You can't have these booths all over the place.
Absolutely.
They need to trade also in designated areas where they have facilities. I would rather we negotiate with malls, that we can have them in the malls, or so that you can use those facilities as well that are at the shopping mall. And then you can actually know, when I go to road number 3, I'll find a booth. You don't have to find a booth all over the place. Which facilities are they using? They are also a problem, because now they contribute to the disease in the city. What facilities are they using? Bottles?
Yeah.
No.
Let's talk about social outlets, in particular, bars, nightclubs, especially nightclubs, which are being used for immoral, things. Some of them are being used to launder, money. I mean, it's like these people are running, nightclubs are really above, the law. One day the nightclub is closed, the following day it's open. What is going on? Are we going to address this?
Yes, we'll address this. First of all, the times. We have an SI-12 that was reissued by the local government, especially at the time that we had the cholera outbreak and then thereafter. So it also talks about the timings that the bar is supposed to open and close, the restaurant is supposed to open and close. So now we go back to council police and state police that we need a lot of help. We need to follow that SI. I think enforcement is what needs to take place, because the law is there on controlling of the timings and the controlling of who should trade in these residential areas and so on. Yeah. But where you're saying that these bars are doing money laundering, I think it's not really, we don't have the evidence. Yeah. So maybe that part, the central government and state police can come in, can help us. So that can be reported to the council, and we can work around. So if you think that there's a bar that's doing money laundering, it's very important that it's reported. Yeah. But of course we receive 1 or 2 stories and we follow up. We follow up. Sometimes when you follow up, this is the reason why when you follow up, you close up, then you have to open because there's no evidence. Yeah. But I think enforcement, you're very right. Yeah. Enforcement needs to take place. Yeah.
Empowering, our people, is very important. In a lot of these, urban areas, Matera, for example, our colleagues from Rwanda, sorry to mention the name, but it's true. They're running a lot of premise business outlets there. Our colleagues from China, I mean, it's virtually difficult for Zambians in Lusaka, to run these business premises. They've been overpowered, in terms of business power. What are you going to do to ensure that, Zambians have equal access to running business, small business, in your city? I know big powers, in your power sometimes, party sometimes, overrun, these, opportunities for Zambians. How are you going to address that?
Thank you, Uncle Frank. Uncle Frank, first of all, I'll tell you something about block making. I think this is something that has been talked about, even just in our manifesto, it's been talked about. Block making is for Zambians. So it's enforcement. Yes, as a local authority, this is what we can do. But we also need central government to help us. Yeah. Minister of Local Government, we need to work with them. So that is a business that we've always talked about, must be Zambians, for Zambians. Chicken rally. I've been to Soweto Market at 0102 as a team from the local authority. You will not find the Chinese at those trucks. You will find the Zambians. And the Zambians pretend they're the owners of those businesses. So you and I would know and hear these things, but there's a Zambian who will go there and not tell you the truth. They will actually swear that this is their business. They have these big trucks. We've been at Soweto at 02. That's number one. Number two, the shops. Yes, I agree. Our Rwandese friends, they have home shops. But these home shops, who have built those home shops? It's the Zambians. They build these home shops right in front of their houses, and they let the Rwandese come and rent them. Whose problem is it? It's you and I. The Zambians are allowing it. We need to stop. Because the Rwandese will not go to Rwanda and do exactly what they're doing. Those home shops are supposed to sell bread and milk. What are the home shops doing, Uncle Frank? They're selling alcohol. And who is suffering? It's me. Because my 15-year-old boy will go and buy alcohol in the morning and pretend they're going to school, they're buying Fanta. And then we've received reports at some of these schools where a grade 5 or grade 7 sleeps in class. The teacher wakes up the child smelling of alcohol. Where did you buy the alcohol from? From the home shop. This is the reason why council, Lusaka City Council, passed a law. We passed it in the council that we will not give licenses to home shops. So home shops are not supposed to sell alcohol. If there are any home shops there that are selling alcohol, it is illegal. And this is when now council police and enforcement should come in. Because we tried to close them. Yes, and we will continue closing them. Right. So home shops are not supposed to sell alcohol. They're just supposed to sell bread and milk. But I want to ask the Zambian people, the people of the city, who builds those shops? It's us. We build them and give them to Rwandese. So let's use those shops ourselves as Zambians. Why are we not empowering ourselves? We have a problem as well, Uncle Frank. We have a problem as well. And then if I'm going to talk about, for example, I'll go back to the bars and so on. That is where now the morals come in. That's why we had Minister of Religious. I think as a local authority, I cannot be the police or the parent to so many children. Also in our homes. Let the parents also start taking care of their kids. We've lost it somewhere, Uncle Frank. We've lost it somewhere.
Right. Yeah. Second from last.
I didn't mention about the Chinese people. Yeah. Yes, I think my mayor, my former boss Miles and I actually really condemned the Chinese, what the Chinese were doing. And I think even if Mayor Miles is going to Matera, it's still in my district. I think that is something that we still have to address. Yes, we still have to address that. And as a local authority, I think this is something that, with our parent ministry, Minister of Local Government, we'll work with it, and Minister of Labor. because I am one of those that were not happy with the way the Zambians were treated.
Second from last, question, Chilando. Why should the people of Lusaka elect you as mayor?
First of all, I'm not just talking without experience. I'm an experienced civic leader. I've been a deputy mayor for the city, and actually I was public health chairperson of the city the last 1.5 years. So I have vast experience and knowledge of how to run a local authority. And I am born here in Lusaka, so I want to see a good Lusaka. And I'll tell you, Uncle Frank, I love Lusaka, and I want the people of Lusaka to love Lusaka together with me. I'm a very experienced civic leader. I'll work with them. Yes, I work with them, and this is what I've been saying. We have to work together as the people of the city to deliver. I want to see a beautiful, secured city to live and work in. A city, we're talking about our children. I want to see my children and children's children live in a good and secured city. I want to see a beautiful capital city. I don't have to talk about Rwanda. Why can't I have my Rwanda here in Zambia? So I'm asking the people of Lusaka to give me a chance to finish what I started, the journey that I started with them. Yeah. So people of Lusaka, vote for me as your Lusaka mayor.
Finally, Chilando, there can only be one winner in this contest, and this usually leads to divisions among the winning and losing political parties and individuals, irrespective of the complementary ideas the loser may possess. How can the winner and loser work together? And assuming you win, how are you going to ensure that even the losers, the losing party, losing individuals, contribute to your success?
Yes. When you become mayor, you are a civic leader. So you are mayor for everybody. So when you sit in that office, you don't look at color. I will not look at red. I will not look at green. I am carrying the flag of green, yes, but I'm a civic leader for the city. So everybody who lives in the city is welcome. Bring your ideas on the table and let's work. And this is something that our president, Edgar Chagwalungu, has taught us. Even just when I was councillor, this is what he always said. This is what our leadership of Patriotic Front has taught us. When you're in that office, you don't look at the face, you don't look at the color. You work for the people of the country. So I'm going to work for the people of Lusaka. And if those that are aspiring as well want to bring what they think is good for the city, they are most welcome. And the kind of person that I am, I'm very accommodating. They're welcome. We have to love Lusaka together.
Thank you for being on Frank on Camnet. All the best on the 12th of August.
Thank you, Uncle Frank. Thank you very much for the show.
My guest, on Frank on Camnet, Chilando CHATANGALA, who is standing on the PF ticket as mayor of Lusaka. This is just one half of the program. After the break, Victor NYASULA, who is standing on UPND. Frank on Camnet, join me very shortly after the break.
Camnet TV offers a wide range of advertising spaces, promotion adverts, preaching programs, social media advertising, studio facilities, productions, programs, and documentaries. Grow your business with us at Camnet TV. For advertising space, visit our offices at plot number 396/100, Ibex Hill, Kablonga Road. Call 0962 965 883 or 0979 753 010, or you can email us on info@camnettvafrica.com. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Mayora Lukalu, all the way from South Africa. You are watching Camnet channel, not just another channel. God bless you. Stay tuned.
Welcome back. Now this is Frank on Camnet. I just talked to CHILANDO CHATANGALA, who is standing on the ticket of PF as the mayor of Lusaka. Standing on the ticket of UPND is Victor NYASULA, who is now my guest. Good evening and welcome to Frank on Camnet. Victor, I hope you're keeping safe in these very difficult times.
Yes, good evening, Uncle Frank. It's a pleasure to be able to speak with you. I have grown up seeing you present on ZNBC TV.
We worked together.
Yes.
Before I ask you, to give us a brief of yourself, I'm going to ask you the same question I asked your predecessor, from this, interview, CHILANDO. Your president, yesterday was making an address, and he talked about a number of issues, and one important issue he addressed was the management of COVID by PF, which he says leaves much to be desired. Your thoughts on that?
I do agree, Frank, regarding what the president did say yesterday. The management of COVID-19 from the beginning could have been much, much better. Perhaps we should have locked down when we should have locked down, because at that time, in 2020, the issue was around people bringing it in, especially via the airport, and we didn't do and didn't act in time. We can't blame everything on the government, but the rate, the situation we are in now is definitely a disaster. So we do not understand why that declaration hasn't been made. And so we do think that it can be managed better. You cannot, for example, have a situation where your health system is struggling, and then you have people who are trained as doctors unemployed. That doesn't make sense. It boggles the mind. You also cannot have a situation where you have perhaps retired medical people who may actually be helpful. I mean, here you are. You're still doing the work you've done over the years. So we do have nurses and doctors who may come in handy here, and we don't understand why it's not being done. The issue about declaring a national disaster is that you are then able to redirect some resource, which may be in a space where we don't have a problem, and then you can deal with it. But that's apart from others, cooperating partners, who may actually help you to resolve this matter.
You did make reference to lockdown. There are those, Victor was saying, this is going to impact negatively on the already suffering economy. You're an accountant. Your thoughts on this?
Yes, of course, lockdowns are a problem. In fact, when you look at the analysis of the unfortunate events in South Africa, some analysts say that that reaction is not so much about testing the President Zuma's incarceration as it is about frustration of some people who are suffering the lockdown. But the issue about lockdown is also about non-availability of financial support. So when you are idle and hungry, you are angry. So for Zambia, the lockdown needs to be managed very well. So for example, let's be, just last week, we had the president assure the marketeers that he will not lock down. And one of the first reactions to that is from the restaurant and bar owners who are unfortunately saying they are going to defy the close down, because the argument used by the president was that he understands that that's the source of livelihood of those marketers. So as much as it is the source of livelihood of the marketers, so it is for the bar owners. So why not do the hard work of making sure that the facilities are available? The president attempted to actually supply the masks, but the masks are not enough. In terms of the people who need to put on the masks, which is all of us, we are talking 18 million people. Okay, remove the babies. But okay, let's say 10 million. Yes, that's what we're talking about. And that can be very easily, at 5 kwacha, that can very easily be $2 million even. So where is that? Remember that President HH, our presidential candidate, is saying there will be people standing by the bus, by the market entrances, giving masks. And you know, although this is a health crisis, when you resolve it and do it properly, you immediately create an economic values chain around it. The making of the masks, the making of the personal and private personal protective clothing can be a very huge industry. The same way it is with big pharma. And you know how part of the problem in COVID-19 is just the commerce around it, the political economy around the investments that big pharma is making. So to be specific in terms of how we could have done this better, we do the hard work. The hard work means that we support those who need to be supported in terms of masks, because even 5 kwacha, given the poverty levels that we have, can be a challenge. So if you've got 5 kwacha and you are hungry, the economic decision may be to buy a small sugar for the zigolo than to go and buy masks. And at that point, hopelessness perhaps sets in to say, look, if COVID doesn't kill me, hunger will. What the heck? So we need to support them. And then just also providing food for those who are weakest among us. You know, sometimes you hear people talk about how Zambia has changed, how we're doing well. You know, we are not supposed to judge our well-being economically by the people who have been privileged, like you and me, because we can drive and so on and so forth. We judge by that Amai Kamanga, who is on a wheelchair, who, because of medical discharge, has nothing, because there's no husband, and has all these issues to deal with. So how is that person going to manage COVID-19? There was also a claim that there was also, we're being also asked in the peri-urban to social distance. You hear these adverts, but you go in some of these areas, Quad George, and you see these people in a 10 square meter house, and social distance just doesn't work. So in that case, you may need to support them with masks.
I'm going to ask you who you are, so that, the viewers, the electorate know who you are. But before we do that, since you've touched on the management of COVID, the importance of local government, in particular the city council, cannot be overemphasized. If you take up office, if you were mayor today with your team, what role do you have allowed to play as a mayor, as a city council, in managing COVID?
Uncle Frank, I will take you back to a statement that's on the internet, attributed to my friend Miles Sampa. And in talking about social distancing, he was urging the citizens of Lusaka to take a walk to the office rather than get into a bus. So whereas that may be good and also helpful for physical exercise, it may be impossible for some sections of our community. So what I would do as mayor right now is that I would have conversations with the bus owners to accept a capacity that is half what they are currently making. In a 16-seater bus, first of all, Uncle Frank, you will notice that if you go on a minibus now, you will find that this is originally from Japan, a 16-seater bus. But they actually adjust it to increase, and then people are packed like sardines. And that has not changed even at the height of COVID right now. So I would have conversation. The council itself is operating at 48% capacity. In terms of revenue collection, due to COVID, because some businesses have shut down and many businesses have slowed down. So I would have to ask our stakeholders, the owners of the buses, to accept to carry 8 instead of 16 in a go. And also when I said that other people may not, because you see the issue about transport, I'm answering what role I would play. I would make sure that the bus owners accept a lower than normal capacity making of money. I would also use public service broadcasting to make sure that everybody actually understand what we mean by masking up. Of course, that's easy, and there it is support. I would try and make sure as much as possible we can source masks for the poor. Maintaining a distance, that would challenge me too for the people in the peri-urban areas. But making sure that people can be attended to when they're not feeling well, it would be a problem, but as we have stated through President Hakainde Hichilema, by now we would have had many field hospitals or makeshift. I know the Chinese early on in 2020 were able to construct a big hospital within days. We can do that. We have the capacity with the military, the defense forces, and they can do that. They can do makeshift hospitals so that you can access these things properly. Because at the moment, we are overloaded. I actually have a father in UTH right now. He's tested negative, but he's on oxygen, and he's showing all the symptoms. And I'm told that the Delta now doesn't even it will show negative. Yeah. So there's no water in an admission ward at UTH right now. How can that be? So what we are saying, in terms of approaching Lusaka's socio-economic problems, we have a code name of our campaign. It's called Tisha Change. So T for town and country planning. You know that is quite a mess. We would do something there. E, education. So education is not about having degrees. It's about having enough education to conquer your environment. For example, to know how to make sure that you have water from Kafue into UTH. E, the third E is economy. We want an economy that works for all. I'm sure we'll come to that. S is for safety. Because this city is not safe, it would not be feasible for a vulnerable young lady to start off walking at 5 a.m. from Matero North to come to Kablonga shopping mall where she's working, just to ensure that she meets the social distancing thing. And then H, Uncle Frank, H is the biggest thing in our campaign. It is health. And when we talk health there, we're talking about public health. And public health includes housing. And housing, we're talking standard housing. And we'll explain that further. And then the last one is A, which is aesthetics. I have never understood why, just because someone is poor, their yard has not a single flower. I mean, I grew up in Machero partly. I mean, I've done a merry-go-round in Lusaka. Born in Mufulira, moved here when I was 1, 2 years old into Mtendere. We kept upgrading. So Mtendere we went into Chunga. Chunga we went into Matero. And in Matero, things used to work. I've seen it work. And people would sometimes, you've seen when they are sweeping in the morning, sometimes they don't even realize that they are causing, they are providing a fertile ground for soil erosion. Yeah. But that's the thing. They would sweep their side of the thing. They would have flowers. And it's actually part of the law. In the first schedule of the Local Government Act number 2 of 2019, it is law for each of the residents in Lusaka to keep their premises well.
Right. I did allude to the fact that you are an accountant. Quickly, briefly, tell us your journey.
Yes, please. So I completed school in 1988, secondary school, at Livala Secondary School, and went into Copperbelt University. But before I went there, I had sat for something called Zagat, which was a scholarship test by ZCCM. So while I was at Chingola, at Copperbelt University, I got a scholarship. So I opted to leave the university to go to Chingola, where instead of paying school fees, I was even being paid like a minor at Chingola School of Accountants, thanks to ZCCM and thanks to Super Ken, rest in peace. I graduated from Chingola School of Accountancy sometime in 1993 with a level just before the end of what we used to call Chartered Institute of Management Accountants. That's a professional qualification, which is like SCCM. But I actually just completed it in 1997. So the first job I got in 1997, apart from all these internships and so on and so forth, was ZESCO as a management accountant. I worked there until I was treasury manager, managing a $200 million treasury unit. I mean, I was the first one to raise finance through commercial paper. We were able to even do debt factoring for ZESCO to have some cash. From ZESCO, I went into Lusaka Water and Sewerage. So already, Uncle Frank, you will note that those are components. Because ZESCO was born out of councils. Councils used to do the distribution of electricity. So that role was taken from the councils, and ZESCO was born in 1970. Lusaka Water is a key thing because it's health. Water and sanitation is health, and if we put money there, we will see a reduced bill in the Ministry of Health. From Lusaka Water, I did a small stint with my brother-in-law at Zambian Airways because he needed a qualified chief financial officer who could help him raise money. That didn't go very well in the end. So from there, I decided to practice in my firm, which is called Mlenji Chartered Accountants. And I did just 2 years and went into ZNBC, where I interacted with you, and it was quite an honor to be able to sit with you in my office. Yes, so from there, from ZNBC, I left ZNBC, or I was forced out of ZNBC in 2015. I have been practicing under Mlenji Chartered Accountant, and have also briefly headed one of the world's biggest accounting entity, we called Crow Zambia. I left Crow Zambia in February of 2020, and because IDC actually did plead that I help with the Zambia Airways, the new Zambia Airways, because of my exposure. I didn't stay there very long, just 3 months, and went back to practice. So I'm currently practicing.
Excellent. I mean, you've tabulated, a lot of Johnny's, stop, start, man. Some people are watching, the viewers are saying, are we going to trust this mayor who moves from one place to the other in such a short period?
You can trust this mayor because that to me has given me a good overview of the various sectors. I've done public service broadcasting. I've done electricity subsector of the energy sector. I have done water and sanitation. I have been involved with, in fact, while I was at Lusaka Water and Sewerage Company, I was privileged to help raise $23 million from the World Bank in a project called Water Sector Improvement Program. So whereas it is so many, for me as a person, it has been enriching, and I'm therefore able to engage, at least at the surface, on many things that I would otherwise not have done it.
Why this paradigm shift now from all these professional entities into politics, and why in particular UPND?
I love the people. I love the motherland. Yeah. my father is a Tumbuka man. Yeah. God bless him. Yeah. My mother is Ushi from Luapula. I love the motherland. And in a sense, I have been doing corporate politics. Yeah. Because what happens, as you know, Uncle Frank, is that when you, I think the safest place to be in the corporate world is just below middle management. Mm. Immediately you enter into what we call the C-suite executive, like you were director, and I was also director. It becomes so political you can't recognize whether this is a corporate or not. So I would say I have been a private politician, and now I think I have gathered enough in terms of exposure and experience to be able to contribute to resolving some of our most pressing challenges. Why UPND? I just joined a party called Zambians for Empowerment and Development, Z Party, which Z Party entered into an alliance called the Zambia We Want Alliance, made up of MDC of my former boss, Mr. Mtati, the leader of Zambia Must Prosper, popularly known as KBF, then one Mr. Simuyembe, a local government guru, and also Z itself, led by my former elder, Mr. Mwansa. So this alliance then went and joined the UPND alliance to form what we now call the UPND Zambia We Want Alliance. So I am in UPND via being a member of a partner party of the UPND.
Right. Before we talk about the mayoral position and issues pertaining to Lusaka, nationally, because Lusaka obviously will connect to the nation and all the concerns, what are your concerns as to where we are as a country?
I am very concerned because I have seen this country work before. And it seems to me that a lot of things are out of order, and so they need to be called to order. There are a lot of things which are not out of order symptomatically, but there are obviously just very few things that if you do, okay, I'll put it this way. If you want to pack a number of stones nicely in a bucket or whatever, they always ask strategically, from a strategy lesson, they say, well, if you've got big stones and small stones, what do you start with? You start with the big stones. It's tempting to start with the small stones. So there are many things that show that we are not okay, but there are a few things that need to be resolved. And the few things that need to be resolved is a leadership that will reunite the country, and a leadership that has political will to actually face the issues head on. You will hear our political competitor will tell you about the nice projects and plans they have. But when you ask, did it take why does it need to take 5 years to actually have public toilets in the CBD? Does it need to take 10 years for us to have simple street names? You know, it's weird. So we need to resolve leadership whose purpose will be to reunite and to go back to the economics of Zambia that produced you and me. We had free education, it worked. In Matero, we had dust bins coming from the council, being collected in proper trucks, not in canter trucks. Surely it must work. Yeah, I'll tell you why it can work. Copper is now selling at $10,000.
The highest. Yeah, and we're not saying better.
But did you realize that cashew nuts are $20,000? And didn't the President Kaunda have the cashew nut project? I think in a sense, when we were changing governments in 1991, we threw the baby together with the dirty water. So we want, my concern is to get back so that we can check out what was good and leave out what. When the oil producing countries who belong to OPEC, when they have a control over the price and the quantity, and it translates in their country's well-being. In Qatar, Uncle Frank, you are aware, there's no poor man. There's nobody who doesn't have using copper, using oil. Why doesn't it work for us? Why do people have to look for the dollar in order to buy copper? Why don't they look for kwacha? Because the copper is sitting in here. You remember President, the late, may he so rest in peace, one of the first things President Sata, and I saw where he was coming from, one of the first things he did was that we are going to have emeralds. Is it emeralds? Emeralds, yeah. Sold here. The auction is going to be here. And that's why we had Memako anyway, under Kaunda. And that thing didn't last long. The reason it didn't last long is that his economic people told him, no, it can't work, and there were all these economic jargons and so on. And we had the auction here, but it didn't last. We don't know what's happening. What I'm saying is that some of this poverty and degradation and indignity is uncalled for, because I don't think Zambia, if there are countries which are called to poverty, Zambia is not one of them. And you and me have benefited from that. Why is it not happening?
Absolutely. All right. Let's narrow ourselves now to Lusaka. What are the major concerns you have for Lusaka? And before you do that, just put it in perspective, the importance of Lusaka. I say this because in other countries, I mean, I kept on talking about, America, because, I've been there, and, London also, for example, I've lived there. When you talk about England, you're really talking about London. When you're talking about America, you're talking about New York. How powerful these cities are vis-a-vis, local government. Please explain to our viewers just where you place Lusaka in this country, and then look at the concerns.
I love the analogy you're making. And you're talking about New York because New York works. You're talking about London. London works. Even if the square kilometers may not be as big as Lusaka. Oh, by the way, Lusaka is half the size of Singapore. It is very important because, for example, when people report an important thing that has happened in a country, for Lusaka, they will say the Lusaka government. Because where the city is, that's where the country goes. And that's what you're saying when you say USA, it's New York and London. So I think that Lusaka is very important, and that's why Lusaka must work. And we therefore place it at a very, it's a big premium. My presidential candidate says, this is This is big. Then he talks about how Sadiq Khan, is it Sadiq?
Yes, Sadiq Khan, yes.
The mayor of London was engaging with Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And no minister of local government or secretary in London interfered with him.
Yeah.
He was able to interact with him. Because, I mean, Boris Johnson is a former mayor of London, and it's a very, very important thing. Two of our presidents were governors of Lusaka.
Yeah.
President Rupiah Banda and Michael Sata. So where the city is, the country goes. So it's very, very important.
Before you even talk about concerns, because we're talking about the importance of the city, you worked at ZNBC. Have we, as a media, sold, marketed Lusaka to our people in Lusaka and beyond, just to tell them just how important this city in this corridor of Zambia?
We have not sold. In fact, we have not sold anything about Zambia. And there's something we're creating back home in Lai, and it's going to be a craft shop. And one of the things we're going to be selling is T-shirts that say, "I love Lusaka." Because even just that is a problem. When you've traveled, you go into New York, you see I love London, and so on and so forth.
I love Jordan.
So when it comes to public service broadcasting is different from commercial broadcasting. But when you think about the way we were mourning the president, and you look at all that footage which you people were producing, then you ask, but what is it doing? When sometimes the public service broadcast looks like they've got no content. So we can do better. And one of the things we are saying is that in our campaign theme, where we are saying T-shirt change, the first E, which is about education, which is education for city development, we will be broadcasting the bylaws, the rules that you have to obey when you live in a city. It looks like, especially in the last 20, 25 years, some people may think that you can live in Lusaka anyhow without rules. So we will make sure that we work with the public service broadcaster. And I'm not ashamed to say this. We have, in fact, written a letter to ECZ to say, we have seen that you are telling ZNBC, forcing ZNBC to give us minimum 30 seconds for political adverts at fees to be determined by ZNBC. Come on. How? This is a national election. It's national election time. ZNBC eats from our taxes. ZNBC is public service broadcast. They keep saying that themselves. So if there's any place we should be, all of us, the candidates, freely engaging the country on, it is ZNBC. So all those are things we will attend. We will force ZNBC to go. There's already a court ruling anyway. Yeah, but they need to put their act together. And the question really is about, have we marketed Lusaka as much as we ought? No, we have not. I went on a campaign trail to Quad George, which is not very far from where I used to live. And I gathered, Uncle Frank, I saw a place where Dr. Scott was born. Because I gathered that was their farm. I mean, that's where he was. And there's something on that spot which says nothing about that. So those spots, just like we are doing with the Chilenge house for the late president, we will look for spots like that and begin to make money via tourism. But to make money via tourism, we need information. And the place where we should go and freely sell Lusaka, it is ZNBC.
Brilliant. All right, you've partly looked at your blueprint, the contents in your blueprint. Please expand more. I'm going to ask you a lot of questions because of lack of time. I won't ask you about what's wrong with Lusaka, because we all know what's wrong. No water. Street vendors, whatever. Just expand a little bit on your blueprint the players in that, okay? And obviously how it is going to be funded.
Yes.
And how the people of Lusaka are going to buy into it.
Yes, so I'll start with the last point about how the people are going to buy into it, but what is it that they're buying into it? We are selling T-shirt change for Lusaka. T-shirt, T is for town and country planning. It goes without saying that that is a mess. I have been to a place, for example, in Chawama. We I don't know whether to thank, but we thank the PF government for some tarmac roads. But are you aware, Uncle Frank, that, oh, I'm sure you've driven, there are some roads that actually, like, they were looking for spaces in between the unplanned settlements, very near houses, which is actually itself a danger to the children. Now, the players. Lusaka City Council has very educated people. And I would like to think that in terms of presentation of what we need to do in town and country planning, they do present. But I think that there's too much cadreism sometimes, so we don't get to do things that are supposed to be done. So what will we do? First of all, there will be amnesty. We're not going to punish anybody, because if a house is built on an illegally given piece of land, how can you as a council only know when it reaches roof level? What that tells you is that there's nobody who comes through the city every day to check what is happening. Under our reign, we will never demolish a house at that level, because we will make sure that before the foundation is finished, we have already engaged. So the players are the very educated management of Lusaka City Council. We will give them the leeway that they require. They went to school, for crying out loud, to do that sort of thing, so we'll give them the leeway. Then we will not shy away from making difficult decisions. Because of lack of making because of failing to make difficult decisions, we are now in an unsustainable city. Lusaka City Council, Lusaka City is unsustainable as it is right now. Because just look at sanitation. This sanitation system, the sewer system, was built for no more than 500,000 people. Since independence, the population has more than tripled. We are running close to 3 million. And we have not expanded the sewer system. Again, the African Development Bank is supporting what is called a program that is out of the Lusaka Sanitation Program, and from the Lusaka Sanitation Master Plan, where they're trying to help with sewer and toilets, which are being sold for 2,400 kwacha. So, and that's just $90 million. Now, in 2006, when I was at Lusaka Water, 5 years before, which was 2009, what we needed was $130 million to extend the sewer system. That was many years ago. Now, we have done nothing. We have moved on water, but sanitation always is. So that is unsustainability, because where is the waste going? Garbage collection or dump site is another problem. So that's town and country planning. In education, we are talking about opening. I went to, by the way, I went to Wolofea for nursery school in Chunga. That nursery school was being offered by the council in Chunga. And it was proper stuff, because from there I was able to go into grade 1 without a problem. So in terms of education, we will engage, we will make it available. We will try, and all the city libraries which we now have, which are brick and mortar, they will be digital. And that's where we'll put Wi-Fi. We're not going to promise Wi-Fi anyhow, willy-nilly, and then fail to deliver. But all those city libraries will make sure that they are attractive to what I call digital natives, which is our children. So that's what we're going to do on education. And then on economics, we are saying we are going to have we're going to examine the political economy of Lusaka. When we say the political economy of Lusaka, we are saying who owns what. When I met some people in Kanyama, one of the things they complained about is that Kanyama as a constituency hosts almost the entire industrial establishments in Lusaka. That this man says our children are the most unemployed. So we would like to know who is in Kanyama constituency as a business entity. How much are they making? How much is going to ZRI? Now that is for the purposes of establishing how much is coming to the council in order for us to give the socio-economic delivery that is required. Because if you go to California, if you go to, what's that valley, what is it called? Where Bill Gates and everybody are?
It's
Silicon.
Silicon, yeah.
So the community in Silicon benefits
absolutely
from the intellectual wealth that is in there. But here, you have Kanyama hosting all those industries, and they are the worst taken care of in terms of socio-economic delivery. They are a disaster. They've been a disaster since the Kaunda regime. 1977, the Kanyama disaster. So we will engage, and we will try and see what we can get from there.
Investment in the city is extremely important. Again, I go back to London. London is a financial hub. What is it that is going to drive investment in Lusaka? What is it that is going to attract investment in Lusaka? Big, small, medium, and even the small ones in Mutendere, here, the area where we are. How are they going to be part of this investment platform?
That which is going to attract investment into Lusaka is order, cleanliness, and decentralization. If the city is clean, if the city is safe, if the city works, if I live in Makeni and don't have to struggle to come to Civic Center for even the simplest of things, then it is easy the city becomes attractive. By the way, that is how we would like to make sure that it is sustainable. We want every person in the city of Lusaka to have the most essential services within a walkable distance. That is sustainability. So if the city begins to work, you can have owners of businesses, owners, shareholders of ShopRite can relocate and make their home here while they live, while they work, their industry remains in South Africa. But if their home is here, it is likely to attract it. I'll tell you how that works. There is a video that's gone viral. I don't know whether you've seen it, but it's about the CEO for that marketing company that we deal with a lot. The owners of Glencore. This man lives in, at least when I read it, lived in Switzerland. And he had a bonus in one particular year of $355 million. And that money went to the council in a place in Switzerland. And because of that, that council was enriched. Because the council was enriched, everybody is happy in that village. So if we call the city to order, we call the country to order, there is predictability. People who are investors don't have to be goody-goody. because of corruption. So because they don't have to be good, they are happy. The businessman likes predictability. The businessman doesn't like corruption. They still do corrupt because they have to make business, even if it's in the DRC. But what will attract investment in a sustainable way is when we order the city, we clean the city, and we decentralize the city.
What has been labeled, this government vis-a-vis the council and previous, government, is a collection of rates. Okay, how are you going to ensure, that, paying rates is attractive?
Yes, because right now, in fact, to be fair, there is a digital attempt at digitalizing many things at the council. And we will make use of that. We'll make use of the digital platforms because there's no reason for not being able to do that. But the bigger issue, Uncle Frank, is that the rates themselves are being collected at of the total budget of Lusaka City Council, which is 348 million kwacha for 2021, a paltry $15 million. Rates are just about 30%. And the reason they are just about 30%, as I've heard my competitor, Madam Chilando, say, is that there are very few people who are paying, and maybe that's the point you're making. So, first of all, they are just about 80,000 because it's 20%. Now, there are 400,000 households, but the 400,000 households, they are not on the valuation roll. So, first of all, we will push that. By law, every 5 years, you are supposed to have a valuation roll and a supplementary valuation roll. And I know the one which is on the website for the LCC is 2013. So, and then there was a supplementary one in 2018. That's the one which moved the properties to 77,000. That is less than 25% of the 400,000. So that issue of valuation, we're already overdue. Well, from 2018, it means 2022. But we'll push so that it doesn't take long. And then to make it attractive, we'll just go digital. I mean, it's one way of also avoiding COVID.
Chilando, did allude to the fact that some of the challenges of getting revenue from markets, from buses, is, the parallel structure. The others also working on the other side because people need employment. How do you reconcile that?
Of course, people need employment, and also I need to restate this thing, which, when we say kada these days, it's the same way we used to say Amdala a long time ago when we would say Wakaponya.
Yeah.
But the word kada itself is just that. It's because ZNBC had a kada of people like you that they were making a map, a group of people who are committed to the cause. So we have cadres, everybody has cadres, and we need cadres. But we want proper jobs, we want everything ordered. So we cannot have a situation where you allow illegal tax collectors to harass non-PF people just because they have to eat. What about the people they are harassing? They are also Zambians. We will professionalize that. What I'm saying is that Kuja ku Soweto, what you have is a situation where a farmer has worked hard, he brings his tomato at Soweto, immediately he arrives. Unruly youths, of course, who have the right to eat as well, just like me, take it, decide the price, and everything, and what they will get out of it. That's disorder. That's a recipe for mafioso state. We don't want that. So what we will do is we will professionalize them. We know they are agents, and they are also stock brokers.
Yeah.
It happens at Lusaka Stock Exchange. We will bring it at Soweto because Soweto is one of the biggest markets this country has. So I don't agree that we should look away from injustice and disorder just because those people need to eat. We all need to eat, both the PF cadre and the UPND cadre and the socialist cadre. We all need to eat.
Yeah.
But if we allow disorder, we'll have what we have now.
You did allude to the fact that you upgraded yourself from Flem, Mtendere, Matero. The flip side of that, how do you upgrade the existing dilapidated, areas, to something that you can say, yes, this is a humane area. A lot of people are doing that through illegal structures, unplanned areas, and without even services. How are you going to address it?
We have a powerful. We have put thought to the idea of public housing, and when we say public housing, we are talking about public housing which is standard. 70% of Lusaka's residents, or more than half of Lusaka's 3 million people, live in peri-urban areas in substandard housing. That we are going to attack head on. We are not going to bury our head in the sand. How will we do that? We will have an organ in government that is specifically going to look at the mechanics of enabling low-cost housing which is standard. We may have to re-engineer, you see, correctly so, my competitor has said that Lusaka sits on a particular rock, so it's a very difficult thing to do. But we are saying that in Dubai, people have reclaimed the sea and built there.
Yeah.
I shouldn't even go far. Where Kabwata Baptist Church sits, opposite Livara Secondary School, where I went, opposite Livara Secondary School, it was ditches, deep ditches. What has happened? It's been reclaimed. So we will study the specific areas. Thankfully, a lot of work has already been done. And this is what I laugh when I think about President Sata when he says that, some people say he started the road project. No. A lot of work had already been done.
Yeah.
In the MMD government, there used to be road sector. Remember?
Yeah.
Road sector investment plan. So a lot of work had been done. So clever Mr. Sata, his soul rest in peace. The issue was you pick up the documents, you dust them, and you try and see how you can use them. So that's what we will do, because studies have been made, for example, on Kanyama. Because of its geographical nature, even the way you do your housing and the way you build, you have to do a lot of engineering and do it appropriately. So even the toilets, they have to be eco-friendly toilets. So it's not just any toilet. There's too much technology and too many people willing to help us. The problem sometimes is that when a project is coming, and it's coming, say, from the Germans or people who have had Christian influence, they are so tight and so conditional that it's not very attractive to pay attention to that project. But when it is coming from other places, the loopholes for corruption are very high. So people tend to concentrate on those kind of projects. So we will make use of the studies that have been made so that we re-engineer and reconstruct low-cost housing.
Lusaka is not just about the Upper Mwamba, people. What about a lot of the majority living in a peri-urban? What is it that is going to tell them, yes, now I feel like, the provisions, are spreading to even us. I feel happy to be in this city.
Yes, that's why we are saying we are talking For us, our delivery is going to be anchored on values of love, unity in diversity, and decentralization. So we are going to pay attention to all the issues without discrimination. In this campaign, we are doing door-to-door. We are going everywhere. And obviously, it's easier to go in the density areas because people are more accessible than in the Mayadi. But we've got a plan that will take into account everybody, regardless of social status.
So many decisions are made at the Lusaka, city, council main office. Are you going to ensure that, decentralization is implemented so that the borough in Mutendere, for example, in Charleston, makes economic and social decisions?
Yes.
And just feed into the city?
We believe in that. The Z party actually believes in power to the word. And by the way, in terms of the legal framework, a lot has already been done. As usual, there's a lot on paper. So one of the things that is said in the Local Government Act, when talking about the work of the mayor, it is to promote the local participation of local governance. And because of that, we now have the ward development committees. So the ward development committees is supposed to be non-partisan and picking up the issues. There are 38 wards in Lusaka, 7 constituencies. So each of those wards can actually, they know their issues. So we will make sure that that works. It's already there, but you can see, again, it's not spread out. People don't know, and people just complain, usually at the top. Yes, so the simple answer is that we are committed to decentralization using the framework that has already been laid aside. Of course, we may need to tweak it here and there, but it's basically there, yes.
Second from last in a question, in these difficult times, we've only got about 30 days before, the elections. How are you marketing these ideas, and how do you hope to ensure that the electorate embraces your ideas, they embrace you, as Victor NYASULA, the incoming, mayor?
Part of it is this one, and thank you very much for this opportunity. We are using electronic media, and of course we are doing door-to-door and visitations. We are not able to, at the moment, we really appeal, we still appeal that the ban be lifted in terms of mini rallies, but they are super spreaders. So I think that we might as well, we are serious about fighting the fight against thing. So we're going to use existing normal interaction that we have. Family, friends, churchmates, meetings of all sorts, and using social media, and how should people embrace me, embrace us? Because we are saying, please vote in your ward, vote UPND councillor, vote UPND mayor, vote UPND MP, and vote HH for seriousness, discipline, and better economy. So we will keep saying it. We love the people of Lusaka. Give us a chance. The manifesto of the goodness with us is that we are giving you a promissory note that is backed by men with a track record and with credibility in their own lives. So you can trust us. Our competitors, those who are already in government, we're asking the question, does it take 5 years, 10 years to build a toilet in the CBD? Look at some of the big infrastructure things which have been done under the PF reign. So the toilet should have taken shorter. By now, these issues would have been resolved. The Kanyama problem is over half a century old. They've had 10 years. Please give us a chance. We are men of our words. I did treasury, so your word is my word is my bond. Isn't that what you proved?
Yeah.
When you were my supplier at ZNPC? I said, I'm done, I will pay on this particular date, and we pay on that particular date.
Finally, I asked the same question I asked Chilando. The winners and losers in this semi-year win, how are you going to ensure that all the players, even the losers who got brilliant ideas, feed into you and you work as a unit of Lusaka?
Yes, I'm very willing to do that either way. I have ideological issues with President Obama, but I want to commend him that when he won, he was able to take in Madam Clinton and made her Secretary Secretary of State.
Yeah.
And also, on a lighter note, in my campaign song, I say I have a strategy like that of Shaka Zulu, so you don't keep your enemy very far.
Keep him closer.
Keep him closer. So if I lose, I am willing to offer my ideas and to support. There's a Ward Development Committee anyway, so I can participate in that. And I have a track record for this, even though I left ZNPC prematurely. I was able to write to Minister, my former friend, Doris Leah. I wrote to her explaining how that ZNPC can, using the levy, be self-sufficient. So I didn't care that I was not there. I was able to give, I wrote to her. So it's the same even here.
Victor, it's been a pleasure. All the best.
Thank you very much.
May the good person, may the person with the good ideas, may the person who convinces the electorate in a win. Thank you for appearing on my show.
Thank you very much, sir.
This has been Frank on Camnet, wherever you are in the world. Thank you for watching. I have to go and explain now to my doctor, my specialist, while I was doing this program, but I have to rush there now and explain, and so that he can review my eyesight. But I have to do this because I love you very much, and I think it's important to our country that you hear from the candidates what they're able, what they're planning to provide for you, the electorate, for you, the people of this amazing country called Zambia. I would like to thank my director, Isaac, and the crew, downstairs, here in the studio, and of course my executive producers, Pastor Chiluba and Mrs. Chiluba, and all the viewers will value so much. I aimed, like I always aimed, do your very best, and God will do the rest. Good night to you all, and bye-bye.
Thank you.